Welcome back to the Stephen Sulley Study. I'm your host, Stephen Sulley. My next guest is a girl called Becky Evans, who goes by the name of QueenB on Instagram. Her profile is predominantly around cars. She's got a passion. She travels around the world. She presents for people like Red Bull. She's had a contract with them for Red Bull TV. She travelled last year to 15 different countries and on 74 flights in 2019. Her sheer drive, determination, and basically doing whatever it takes to become a success is the attitude that she possesses. And I like to bring that out of my guests, especially someone like her. Hopefully that should transpire to the audience and you can think, you know what, this person shared a very similar upbringing to me, they've had similar challenges to me, and therefore I can go out and do what they've achieved, but just do it in my own way. Becky's got so much energy, she's very passionate, she's a lovely, lovely lady. Be happy, never content, enjoy the episode, enjoy the interview, nice one. Welcome back to the Stephen Sulley Study. I have my next guest next to me, Becky Evans, aka QueenB. Thank you very much for coming on my podcast, and thank you for your time. As I mentioned to you earlier, as we were having breakfast, I like to interview people that are blazing their own trail. I feel like you've got a very compelling story. I like to talk about people's backgrounds before I talk about their achievements, because I want my guests and my podcast and my episodes to inspire a young generational demographic to think, you know what, I've come from a similar background, or she's inspired me because I've gone through this challenge. That's kind of the goal behind this, and I believe that you can definitely give some motivation and inspiration.
Thanks, Steve.
So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Who are you? Like, what is your background? I know you come from Coventry, but like, what was your typical childhood like?
Very normal, you know, like it wasn't too far one way, too far another. It was just like born and raised in Coventry, went to school there, it's hard to explain really, but yeah, very normal, I would say. It's like just went to a normal school, had a dad and mum that would like kind of just like go to school, do like try and do as best as you can, and never really sort of saw too much outside of the norm. But yeah, went to school there for all the way up until I was 18, and then went from there into university, because again, it was a simple thing of like, when you're that age, you don't know what the hell you want to do, and the best way to kind of put off having to make any serious decisions is to keep yourself in education. So that's exactly what I did.
Do you, I didn't go to university, and as I explained to you and I've explained to many people before, I had no kind of prospects of going to higher education, simply because I was fucking stupid. So I was going to go to the Marines and that kind of thing, but I do sometimes envy my missus. She's been to university, she's got a pretty good degree there, and I sometimes envy her. I think, do you know what, could I have been a better person if I would have gone? Would you support like young people going to university, or do you think just do what you want to do?
I think it's absolutely what you want to do, and do you know what, a lot of the time we sit there and we decipher and deliberate over our decisions, when actually once you've made that decision, it's gone. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's it. You don't know if you'd have gone left, what would have happened if you went left, and if you went right, that's what you stuck with. So if you decide to go to university, that's entirely up to you, and you know, good on you. Don't think about what would have been if you didn't go, and vice versa. Like, I think it's an entirely personal choice. I mean, these days the whole concept of university's changed anyway, and it was just a different time now. I think if you want to study a particular subject area, then definitely, but I think it's a very personal choice. And
I don't know if I asked you earlier, but what, because before we go into your achievements and what you're doing right now, I know that you had a spell in fashion. Did you study fashion in university, or what was you learning?
I went to university to do business with economics, because at A level I did psychology, philosophy and economics, because I was like, I love that sort of side of things, but then I was like, I probably should do something. I did business studies as well. You know, I probably should do something in and around the business world, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it seemed like a good thing to do at the time. I was like, all right, cool. And then went on to do my degree in business and economics.
Nice.
Because again, it was like beige enough that I could sort of use it in various different contexts, but not so pinpointed that I had to make a severe decision as to, I want to do that, definitely. But yeah, I did work in fashion, but again, that came off the back of playing just on my strengths. So I was like, the way the job came up in London was like, right, what am I good at? Talking shit. What do I like? Streetwear. Right, fine, let's try and like do something around that. So I ended up in PR for fashion.
And how was that?
I hated it.
Why?
Because it just wasn't my thing. Like the bit that I enjoyed, the bit that I gleaned out off the back of it was that I like building brands. I like the whole interactive experience of being like, right, here's an entity. How do we mold that and kind of everything to do with that. But I was in a world where the people that I was working with were not the same kind of mindset. I was like a bit of, I've been into cars my whole life and then I'm suddenly in an office of 24 birds and I was like, whoa, this is very different. I was so green as well. Like I wasn't, London PR is a bubble in itself. And I was just there like eating my Mars bar. Like, like I was just very cut off.
So did you take your kind of, because you mentioned earlier about you like elements of the fashion that you used to work in, like the cool kind of street look almost, because I know of you and then got to meet you from Aaron from Dark Circle, who's a former guest of mine. Shout out to them guys, obviously through Noel and also Aidan and people like that. Yeah. So when going into that sort of world PR, was you coming in still like dressed the same way, like kind of school, and then you're going in with like, let's say typical PR people, which are very dressed smartly and stuff?
Well, do you know what the thing was? And I can't berate them for it. It was more my thing. So just a little bit of backstory how I ended up in PR was I finished university, I went away and sort of travelled for a little bit and then came back and was just working in some like transport office in the Rico Arena. Like just a really just get some money in your pocket type job. And I'd actually been seeing a guy in America and I was like, I'm gonna get a job out there. I'm gonna go. So I went over there and was like, I'm gonna go do this. And I thought like maybe do commercial property leasing. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway, got all the way through to having a job sponsorship, all the rest of it. And then as I was going to these like business network investor meetings, like local BNI type things and like standing up and being like, hi, I'm Becky, I'm looking for a job in this area. These are my strengths, blah, blah, blah. Like when I think back to my, like I was brazen at 20 to be like, all right, cool, let's go, like try and make this work. That thankfully didn't work out because I couldn't get the visa in time for the job. And then I was like, right, plan B, straight to London. We need to make this work. And it was like from idea to execution, it was 8 weeks, like, which was my boyfriend at the time was just absolutely like, what's happening? Where are you going? And I just sent out 10 cover letters with my CV to 10 agencies. I got 5 answers. I got 3 interviews. I got 2 job offers and I took 1. And it was the one that I took because the woman who ran it, she was cool. Like she sort of took a chance on me. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just know that I'm good at talking. I'm good at interacting. And I know that I can do these different things. So PR is a myth to me right now, but I'm sure I can learn it. And she took a big chance on me, which I was like always grateful for. But yeah, from idea to execution, it was 8 weeks. But it was more because I just knew I needed to get myself out of a stagnant place back in Coventry. I needed to get moving again.
What strikes me about you, your personality, but also as you're talking there, is you've got this confidence and you're like a go-getter. And I believe that's such an important trait to either home in on or develop, because I feel like nothing will happen in your life unless you go out there and do it. And I know so it's very basic stuff, but that is the reality. Nothing, unless you're going to luck into the lottery, you're not really going to become a success. No. Where did that come from? I mean, were your family sort of like, did they drill that into you to be confident, or is it just natural?
It's a weird one. It's like, because we all have our own insecurities, right? You know what I mean? Everyone does. But at the same time, when I was younger, I used to look at my dad, because my dad, he just did loads of things. And my dad always said to me, he was like, if you're going to do anything in your life, have a hobby, right? Because a hobby gives you purpose, and a hobby gives you something to get up on the weekend and do. It gives you, beyond outside your job. It doesn't matter if you're doing like a normal 9 to 5, but it was like a hobby enables you to be the person that you want to be. You know what I mean? Because it's a community thing. And I used to watch the way my dad would walk down the pits at Santa Pod, and everyone would tip their hat to him. Do you know what I mean? And he had a way. Do you know what I mean? My dad had a way. He was charismatic. And I just used to be like, wow, if I can be like that one day, you're the one popping jokes. You're the one who making people feel comfortable. And the way he worked in business was exactly the same way. He was just good at what he did. And when, moving later on into what I do now, I deal exclusively with men. And men sniff out weakness within 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, it's the way you carry yourself is so important. Because I think if you're trying to sell something to someone, or if you're trying to tell somebody about something, there's a lot of psychology that goes into it, and if you're confident in the way that you pass on your information, then people are more likely to listen to you. But if you're quite shy, if you're a little bit shy and things like that, like people are like, oh, I don't think she's sure, so why am I going to be sure? If you're sure, then you can pass that on, you know. And I think that's so important, especially when you're dealing, when you're trying to take something like a brand or yourself and tell somebody else about it. You need to know personally that what you're saying, you totally and utterly believe in. And that, I think, that's where it comes from.
So your dad gave you that great advice. So having a hobby, I know your parents, predominantly your dad, into cars.
Yeah.
So was your hobby then to get into cars, or did you pick up another hobby before you got into it?
That was the main thing. Like, I always just enjoyed it. There was like a certain floss about it, you know? Like, I was 21 when I bought my BMW E21, the 1983. I was 21 years old, and I was just like, I need this car. Because it was old school, it was vintage, it was everything that I liked, you know? And it was like super cheap. I was like convincing my dad. I was like, Dad, honestly, it's an investment. It's an investment. It was like 2.5 grand. It was all my savings that I had in the entire world at 21 at that point. You know what I mean? And yeah, I knew that this was the vehicle that was going to sort of carry me through, because it's an infinite like list of jobs, whether it's paintwork, whether it's wheels, whether it's this. And I was going to all the car shows, and it was just something to strive for. All I wanted at that point was to have my car in the magazines and things, and I just have something sick to ride around in.
Yeah.
Little did I know that was kind of going to be the gateway into everything that happens now.
So talking about that then, to try and track you down for the podcast was tough, because you're a go-getter, and this the stuff that I love, and you're traveling and you're doing some fucking cool stuff. So where should we start? I mean, what is it you actually do now? Because I know you've been in drag racing, drifting, you've been presenting, you've been reviewing cars. 2016 you started a vlog and YouTube channel. Got over 70,000 subscribers, still rising. On your Instagram, it's like nearly 100,000. You've got 98 or 97,000. I mean, you've turned yourself into a brand, and I feel that this is just the beginning, because in the next 10 years, the way you're going, you're really going to be someone that people are going to recognise around the world for doing what you do.
I hope so. You know what, like, oh God, yeah, going back to where are we right now with everything, like, it's 2020, and I have to admit, every year is the journey takes another left, it takes another right, but it's just being able to adapt to that. So 2016, as you said, I started the YouTube channel. 2017, I took the leap of faith out of my job to try and make the channel full time, because I was in that sort of paradox in the beginning where I was like, not enough time, so I couldn't make enough content. The more content I could produce, the more brand deals I could accumulate through obviously visibility and being active in that space. So one had to go, you know what I mean? So I took the leap in 2017 to quit my job.
Which is hugely commendable, because there's so many people out there that are faced with the same kind of paradox that you were facing, and many people just play it safe and just stay in the job.
It was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I remember ringing my mum crying and just being like, oh my God, what have I done? And she was like, you're going to be fine. Because at the end of the day, what is the worst case scenario? She was like, you can come and sleep on my sofa. It was like, you know, and I know some people might not necessarily have that fallback. I was lucky that, you know, at the absolute worst case is I had things to fall back on. I could, you know, I'd have to leave my flat. Maybe any of these like worst case scenarios could happen, but at least I knew I wasn't going to be homeless. You know, she was like, look, you can come stay at my house. And I just thought, fuck it. You know what I mean? What is the worst that's going to happen? If I don't take a chance on it now, who knows? So I did that, and I just figured out a way at that point where I was like, okay, so what's your baseline every month? What's your rent? What's your this? What's your this? What is the absolute bare minimum that you need to make to survive? And I figured that out, and it was like, I think it was like £1,500 a month. So then I started going on like Gumtree, and then people looking for virtual PAs, people looking for somebody that can just organise their inbox or do this or do that. And I just started reaching out to people like that, and I was like, okay, cool. So I can offer my services for £600 a month, and it's completely mobile. So it gave me the mobility that I needed in order for me to keep building the channel and keep building the brand.
It's incredibly resourceful, and I think you referred to it earlier as like you were like moonlighting, but trying to like you're still focused on your North Star. So you had that vision, but you had to do these other little things in between in order to get there. And I think a lot of people don't appreciate I don't know if I want to brand you or title you as an entrepreneur or what, but you kind of had that entrepreneur mindset.
So.
And many people don't realise that you have to spin a lot of plates in order to get there. And it is stress, it is challenging, there is anxiety and fearfulness that comes along with it. But I think the reward, once you get past that, it can be, the euphoria is incredible.
Do you know the one thing that the biggest thing about what I did was it gave me the freedom. It was like I was still working, but I managed to create a space where I could work on my own time. I was mobile, and that was the main thing. When you're creating content, especially around cars, it's a very different space to a lot of other content creators. So if you're in the gaming sphere or beauty sphere, it's like you can sit down and do 10 videos in one day, because it's like it's a different makeup look or it's a different game, but it's all from one space. But when you're creating automotive content, you're out and about, you're in different locations, you're different camera shots, you've got a third person there, you've got rigging shots, you've got this. It's like, it's your own mini production. And also then you have to sort of factor in like being able to collect cars, pick them up, drop them off, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's very active and you need that time. And that was the one thing that I knew that I was failing at. I was like, I needed to free up that time for me to be able to make the content. And that was what that did. And thank God, But at the same, as I said, I was working for like 2-3 people. Just any bit of money that I could get in just to keep it all moving. And that was, 2017, 2018. I was just starting. I was able to then stop doing the sort of moonlighting gigs and focus purely, because I was getting bigger at that point. And 2018 was when I first met Red Bull. And then not too long after that was when they offered the job of doing my first series on Red Bull TV off the back of some content that I created for them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How was that feeling?
Do you know what? I'm one of those people that doesn't really realise the weight of a situation until afterwards. Do you know what I mean? You might get a deal in and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then when you look at it a year later, you're like, fucking hell, that was the best and biggest deal I ever did in my life. At the time.
Literally,
I've
had that before.
I'm so scared of over celebrating anything just in case it jinxes
collapses,
it.
Yeah, I've had the same. Until the content is about to be fucking uploaded and it's gone, do not say a word to anyone. Do not just keep a tin lid on it. Because there's been times where I've like celebrated like mad and I was like, this is amazing. And then like you find out something's not gone right, the deal hasn't gone through, the content isn't uploaded, they've decided to scrap it, any of these things, and you're heartbroken. So it's like you have to become really thick-skinned, stuff like that, and remember that until that contract, even when the ink is dry, you need to wait until it's there, until you tangibly see the product in front of your eyes and it's gone and it's sold and the money's in your bank account. Then you're like, I'll have a drink. But that's learning from my own mistakes, where like I would go nuts thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. This person said, and it builds you up to break your heart a little bit. That sounds really bad, but do you understand you must know what it feels like with deals and things like that. Definitely.
You think, oh my God, I've sold, snow to the Eskimos. You have a big celebration, then you feel like a knob because you're like, oh, it's not happening.
Yeah, listen, I even get it still today, like do some fairly big deals and then a spanner comes into the works and you've kind of become complacent, you think it's going to happen and then suddenly something happens crazy and it fucks it all up and you're like, I brought that to my space because I became complacent. And I like to try and live by go hard on yourself because life will go easy on you, and if you go easy on yourself because you're complacent, life will go hard on you. And I believe that kind of energy happens. That's why I personally try and do a lot in my 24 hours, get up, train, boxing, podcasting,
you're very good at that.
and all that kind of stuff, because I'm just trying to, I don't know if I believe in God, but I believe there's a power and I believe there's an energy, and I want to just sort of display, I'm on my game, bring me something.
It's very much that, like I do believe, as you say, in energy. Like when you walk into a meeting, when you walk into something with a brand, it's like, have good energy. Be like someone that they want to work with, because it's like, wow, like I really enjoy spending time with that person, and think of idea, just be on your game. I think what happens with a lot of sometimes creators, or when you're in the sort of middle sphere, we're not talking the top big boys because obviously they're there, but it's like we're all on this, we're all trying to climb our own ladders. Everyone's trying to do their own thing. Everyone's trying to create their own empire. Like so many people, which is great to see, have got like their side hustle on. There's a lot of people that work in a lot of jobs and they're still trying to create their stuff in the sidelines. That's great. Do not ever become complacent, as you just said. It's like, do not ever think, well, it's all right, I'm the shit, I've got 100,000 followers, now I can do this. It's like the minute you do that is the minute you're on your way down.
Of course.
Because it's just, I like being creative, I like spending time thinking about how do you diversify, how do you take all these things that you've learned and apply them somewhere else. Because that's the secret to longevity, personally, I think, anyway.
Absolutely. I'm trying to break into the space, into the podcast world. I believe in years to come I can be someone, but I know it's going to be a lot of hard work. It's going to be consistency. There's got to be like a brand image and all that kind of stuff. Now, when the conversations come up to my mum, I'm 34 years of age. She's from a generation that internet, I was just like, this fake thing. Yeah. And she knows it's not I'm not trying to do it because I necessarily need the revenue, but I want to start making money from it because I feel like I'm validated then as a podcaster almost. Yeah. And she's like, podcasts? What the hell was that? Yeah, and I'm like, well, it's basically, Mum, like your own private radio station. Yeah. So what I'm trying to ask is, let's say tips for me, but then also tips that people getting into podcasting or YouTube or vlogging, blogging, trying to make, because you went from that transition from, let's say, the typical normal job into doing what you do now and making a name for yourself where you can get paid. Yeah. How do people go about doing it? I mean...
Okay, well, it's like if you're trying to launch any business, really, look at your landscape. Why are you trying to do this? Figure out, because if you don't understand what your mission statement is, then no one else is going to. Why are you trying to do this? Where are you trying to get to? What's your angle? Because at the end of the day, we are in an age where social media is becoming huge, so therefore it's becoming saturated. Therefore, you need to understand what makes you different from your competitor. Have a USP. Correct. And it can be something as minor as, I don't know, I wear blue wigs when I do my podcast, but it's something. It's a point of differentiation for someone to remember you and your content. I'm not saying do something as gimmicky as that. Your hair looks great.
Can you please bring the pink wigs?
But it is. It's absolutely that. And going back to my own story. The reason why I jumped was I was working with influencers, I was working with people within fashion, beauty and lifestyle, and I was like, hold on a minute, like this is getting big. I was watching the decline of print was dying, everything like that, it was all moving online. I then looked at my own space, I was like, holy shit, there's like 4 or 5 big players and that's it. There's not really any females. I know these people, and it was like, right, okay, boom. Figure out where your gap is. Then figure out your USP, as you say, and then try and collaborate if possible. But if you can't collaborate because you're quite small or people won't reply to you, and that does happen. It happens to all of us. People don't want to work with smaller people at times. Of course. I had it happen to me a lot. You then need to be consistent. Consistent. And when it's shit and you're not getting any views and you're feeling really dejected and all the rest of it, it will stand to you. You just need to keep going. And remember, if you do not know at the end of every shoot, at the end of every evening, why you're doing it or what the context of the business is, then that's when you're going to struggle. My one was like, I want to become a voice of authority in the space, and it was like, just keep thinking that. Do you know what I mean? You almost have to put your blinkers on, because the one biggest stifler of creativity, or maybe not doing what you want to do every day, is people are looking left and right instead of looking straight ahead of them. They're looking left at what he's doing, my man's doing over there, or she's doing, and then they get jealous, and then they start like being like, why aren't I doing that? And then they lose focus. Like, your focus has to be yourself. And that's the only way that I managed to do it, because it's like, it's very easy in this world where, you can sit there and be like, oh, why has that person got that? Or why is that person doing this? It's like, no, just keep your head down, put your blinkers on, and become almost ignorant to your own cause. That's what I think, anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, 100%. Yeah. Very valuable information.
Yeah, as I said, yes, I'd say the 5 points is just like, figure out exactly what it is. Yeah. Why, what your USP is, consistency, and collaborate.
Yeah. And so let's just say people, because I know people need to have a passion for what they're doing, generating content, as you said, and you clearly have that. But let's not forget, unless you're getting paid, it's very, 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 very difficult to sustain that passion because you're thinking, I'm not getting paid.
Yeah.
So how do you monetize something like that?
How do you monetize what? Creating content?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on, or if you're,
okay,
YouTube, so if you're,
or whatever.
So if you're on YouTube, obviously once you get to a certain amount of views each month, your AdSense will kick in. So that's just pure numbers, that's pure viewership. But I would say if you're trying to monetize, it's at the end of the day, you're trying to grow an audience. The key thing about all of this is finding your community and finding your market. Because out there is a market for anything. So there are people that like cars, for example, or people that like art. It's like you are talking to that audience. And once you figure out how to captivate that audience and bring them in, that is then where the money is, because the money is in being able to speak directly to market. The way that like people talk about influencing, blah, 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 all the rest of it, the social media sphere, at the end of the day, it's a different form of advertising, except it's a more direct and targeted advertising. So if you became, a connoisseur of Richard Hambleton, there are Richard Hambleton fans out there. And if you were a Richard Hambleton seller, you would be like, okay, we need to work with this guy because he's talking directly to our consumer. That's exactly what happens with monetizing what you're doing online. So if you are selling bespoke, if you like bespoke sofas, you then start creating nice bespoke sofa content, and then you suddenly are tapping into a community of people that like bespoke sofas, and then the bespoke sofa company comes to you and goes, oh, you're talking directly to our consumer, and you go, well, if you want access to that, you need to pay X amount, and then here, beyond that, it's another conversation. Obviously, you provide your analytics, but you are giving that person who is selling a product direct correlation and viewership on their market. That is the concept of monetization in this space.
Nice.
Audience. Did that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Perfect.
It's helpful because we're about to launch a Woodbury House one in April for this nightlife show, which is going to be fucking blinding. It's surrounding the Hambleton movement. It's with a guy called Frank, pronounce his name, Pillay. I'm terrible.
Pelaya.
This one, everybody. And look at all this cool stuff. Anyway, April, we're going to do a live podcast and also Q&A, and we are going to be pigeonholing into the art space, but specifically street nice. Art and stuff like that. So becoming a bit of an expert, a voice in that area, and then therefore you're going to start gravitating towards the right audience and clientele, and that's how you can start selling to the consumer. Absolutely.
As I say, if you always keep it in your mind, for anything to be monetized, you need to have a simple buy and sell element. Do you know what I mean? You need to break it all the way back down to the simple economics. You have a person that likes A and you have a person that sells A, and you need to connect those two people. You then become the medium in between, because you're attracting the buyer and you're also attracting the seller. And then the art of good business is being a good middleman.
That's exactly right. So right, you travel around the world then. Let's go back to you. So you're off to Vegas because you're missing my fight.
Sorry.
No problem. But there'll be another one.
Just get a fight out in Vegas. Start fighting in Vegas. That's cash.
Well, if you can close me some deals over there and get me in the ring with Floyd Mayweather or something like that, I'll give you half of what I earn.
Perfect.
So you fly to Vegas. Every time I speak to you, you're somewhere different.
I'm in Barcelona tomorrow morning at 9.
I mean, what's that like? Because that sounds like everybody's dream, but is it as glamorous as most people think it is?
No, it's hard work. It's like, it is lots of late nights, lots of early mornings, lots of quick washes. If you ever know the quick wash function on your washing machine.
I'm not saying
glorious.
I'm not saying this, but I can imagine people saying, "Oh, look, you got it easy. You're flying around and you're going to these different." I mean, honestly, what is it honestly like being on the road? It is
getting public transport to the airport, getting on a plane, you're moving from place to place. It's not like you're I'm going to Barcelona for the F1 testing with AMG tomorrow, right? Which is pretty cool. Okay, that's probably not the best example to use, but you're going to an event, you're working at said event, and then you're coming home again. Rarely do I get the time to be like, oh, I'm going to go have cocktails on a rooftop in this wonderful place. It's like you're going there to do a job and you're coming home to go and then move to the next job. Obviously, it's not always as black and white as that. Like, it's great to see different places. I was very lucky. I think I did 15 countries last year, incredible. 74 flights. But that was because I was like...
More time up in the air than you are on the ground.
I know. How I didn't get sick, I don't know. I've got like the
immune
system of a street dog. I was like unreal. It's good. It was just I needed to do it because I wanted to just keep moving forwards. It was that constant... I see the opportunity in everything, whether it's to meet people, to potentially work with them in 5 years' time or whatever. It's like just being on your game, as you said. And it just involved me traveling a lot because I present a championship, that's 6 countries, and then doing a lot of other content around the world as well, where it's like different brand work, this, that, and the other. And then also you've got to remember, beyond just the monetized work, you still have to be on your own creation game. So it's like trying to provide something new and exciting for people. Like, it's not going to cut the mustard just going back to your same haunts constantly.
Yeah. For people that haven't like sort of come across your profile and also your YouTube channel and stuff, what is basically the content on there?
Content on there is a lot of automotive, but also talking to the automotive enthusiast who doesn't fit the traditional mold. Like, when we think of the automotive, you have one end, which is like Blenheim Palace and oysters and supercars, or you have chavs that have just run into Halfords. And there doesn't seem to be a middle space in between, which is like everyone like you, with you or me or this person or that person who enjoys cars, but who isn't like too far one way. It's like we still like popular culture, we like art, we like fashion, we like all these things, like, but we still like cars. You know, we're not all like absolute virgins who are like fucking belt buckle polishers. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like there seems to be just one mold fits all with automotive, like, whereas there's so much more to us, and it's such a big market, this middle market, but no one talks to them.
Yeah,
because it's like how do you connect with something that doesn't really fit you? It's like either one end of the spectrum or the other, and I was like, who's talking to this space in between?
Yeah. And
that was where I was.
When you was doing your first ever vlog, I mean, quite naturally you must have felt a little bit nervous and stuff.
Awful.
But like, what was that feeling like doing it for the first time?
Oh God, it's just public speaking, you know? It's like someone puts a camera on you and you're then on your own with just the lens cap the lens looking at you. It's like being able to be comfortable to talk around your subject. When I first started, I could barely string 2 or 3 sentences together. Someone would have to be like, question, answer, you know. I'd have my camera guy behind the thing being like, where are you, Becky? And I'd be like, I'm at Silverstone today. What are you doing here? I'm here for Silverstone Classic. And what car have you got? With my E21. And what are we going to do now, Becky? We're going to go have a look round and see what cars are here. Let's go. You know, and that's how I started. And now it's like you just...
Free flow.
You're like, yeah, I'm down here doing this, blah, 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 all the rest of it. And it just becomes a sentence turns into 3 sentences, and it becomes a paragraph, and then no one can shut you up.
Yeah.
But it's a process, you know. Like, the one thing that I've learned as I get older is like you don't realise how much you've grown until you look back. Because if I'd have gone, could you imagine like talking non-stop for like 20 minutes? And I'd be like, no. And now people are like, shut up. So yeah, it's where you get to. Getting
into the space that you're in with cars, predominantly is full of men. It's a male kind of sector. Well, that's how I used to view that. Certainly because, like I said, I'm 34 years of age, and 10 years ago you didn't really see many females in that sector. So has that ever been like a challenge, or has it ever been daunting, or you just think, fuck it, I'm going to just make my own mark regardless?
Yeah, it's probably the latter. And I obviously you're aware of it, like you become very aware of it, but I don't know if it's ever really like stifled me in any way, shape or form. Obviously you get the odd few arseholes here and there, but it just is what it is. It's like if you have a common passion, like people can see that. It's about genuinely being interested in your subject area, because no one can argue with it. Do you know what I mean? If you like something as much as the next man, then they're like, all right, cool. It shouldn't make any difference what gender you are, or anything to do with that.
Yeah.
What I will say is people can sniff out the bullshit. It's like if the thing with a lot of females in a car sort of space, sometimes they can become a big fish in a small pond because you're a minority. But it's about having true passion, and if you are truly passionate about it, then people are like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Because obviously there's a lot of stereotypes which are now being broken down. I obviously box. I've got my fight coming up.
Yeah.
And going back, 10 to 15 years, when I started boxing 14 years of age, there was no, and I mean no, girls in the boxing club at all.
Yeah.
And I used to go to a few. The one I represent now and I support, and I've got a Just Giving page for my fight for Bromley and Downham. I'm looking to help the kids there and pump money into that club.
Nice.
It's definitely giving them confidence and stuff. Anyway, I went back there last night to do some sparring, and I've been regularly going back there to do training of an evening. And there's females there, and it's great.
Fab.
And they've got some fucking really, really good girls down there.
Yeah.
Have you seen that turn a bit more in the sector that you're in? Like there's more and more females coming in because it's been a stereotype, or not so much?
Well, it's hard to stereotype, because it's like, I'm sure there have been females, like there is females in every industry. It's just there wasn't so much a spotlight before. I think in the content, I can only speak for my own space, as in in the content creation space, there are definitely more girls coming through, which is great. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like there are definitely more people coming through, because I have this theory of normalization, right? So if people will always be like, oh, that's different if they don't see it. So the more that there's more people doing something, then it gradually becomes normalized, and then it's just not a thing. So what was originally like, so there's a girl driving that car. The more then there's 10 girls and there's 20 girls and there's 30 girls doing it, then everyone's like, yeah, she's a girl driving a car, what are you on about? It's simple psychology, like monkey see, monkey do. It's like the more we have positive role models doing these types of things, and as you see, there's like really great prominent girl fighters coming up. I mean, I follow that Meatball Molly. I think she's like a UFC fighter.
Oh, right.
She's pretty sick. And then there's more girls coming through, and it's like the more people, that's the great thing about social. It's created such a platform for a spotlight for all of the people that were like, oh, I'd actually kind of like to do that. And people can see that, and there's more people joining in.
So drag racing and drifting.
Drag racing, yeah.
What do you prefer?
Oh, drifting all day. I did drag racing when I was younger. That was very much my dad's thing. My dad's still very much into it. Like he writes.
Santa Pod, you say?
Yeah.
I remember, like, I was into like tuning up my car when I was younger and that kind of stuff, and that was always a place that people always used to rave on about.
For sure, yeah, because it was like they had these like run what you brung days where you can just like take your car and flat chat it all the way up the track and see how fast it is, or rather how not fast it is. But it was, it's a cultural thing. It was just a real hub. But like the drag racing that I was involved in was like the pure racing side. So, like 3,000 horsepower, top fuel dragsters, that type of thing,
Jesus.
There's definitely more horsepower than that. I think that's the pro mods, but still, it doesn't matter. I was always around it because my dad was around it. My dad was in the MSA and FIA because, again, part of his hobby was we couldn't ever really afford to race, but he was like, I'm going to stay around it by becoming part of the adjudication and or into the lawmaking around the whole thing. And that's what Dad did. Like, he raced for years when he was younger and then stepped into that side of things. So we were always there because he was part of the governing body which made it all happen. Yeah. And I grew up around that racetrack. So I was just around it my whole life.
So look, I've never done drag racing, but you got
drag... you have on a Saturday night.
Illegal drag racing, but I mean professionally. I've never tried drifting, admittedly. I mean, I had an M3 actually years ago, which I tried to have a little go, but I was shit at it.
Where did you end up?
I was lucky enough. I was in
I
was just in like some where was it? Like industrial estate. So there was nothing around. So even if I end up sort of skidding out, I didn't hit anything. But anyway, so drag racing, simply in my mind, is bang, foot to the floor and go. Yeah. Drifting is a whole different beast altogether.
Oh God,
How did you learn that skill? And you've won some
Oh no, I haven't run anything like that. No? I've only just started going into competitive. Like, you need to learn your craft before you can win anything. Jesus Christ, it's way harder. Very, very sort of involved. It's precision car driving basically. It's like you need to be able to control a car essentially when it's out of control because you're using oversteer to go around a corner. Does that?
Yeah.
It's hard to, I always think am I explaining this?
I just think of Fast and Furious.
Oh, I know. So does everyone because that was the first time drifting massively got put on the map in a mainstream way.
And there's a scene where they're going up the
Toge roads in Japan. Yeah, I've been there. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Toge roads in Japan were kind of like.
And they had to really do that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Mad.
It is really cool. It's a really great sport. If I could explain it in one sentence, drifting as a competitive sport is like like figure skating. So you have a predetermined track, you have clipping points with which you have to get the rear wheels of your car into. So if it was like an S-bend, there's a clipping point there, and you'd have to get your rear wheels into those zones. So it's, as I said, it's precision car driving, and then you have it's a lot in like a few sentences.
So where do you see yourself going in drifting?
I don't know, just enjoying it. It's just something. It's a real release for me. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's something that I do, and it's like because it's so involved. It's a bit like do you ride motorbikes?
I did.
Yeah.
I haven't got one now.
I find that when I'm on a motorbike, there is nothing else in the world that you can concentrate on, because it's like it's do or die, innit?
Yeah.
Like you have to have your eyes on the like you have to
nearly
be
died on
fully
one,
in it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all been there. Scary. And that's what I like. I like because I've always got quite a bit of chatter. You know, there's always like you know, you're always thinking of things, aren't you? Whereas when I do that, it's like pure peace.
Yeah, you're in the zone.
Yeah.
I know you've got to shoot off to another interview soon, so I'm going to wrap it up soon. But I've got a couple more things to ask you.
Go. We're fine.
So, whilst we're talking about cars, what is your favourite car, and what is the best car you've ever driven?
What's the best car I've ever driven? Let's start with that one. It would probably be. Oh God, that's hard. Okay, I'll go back to my favourite car. Like that I could buy, because there's
anything's possible.
Because there's so many different subcategories of your favourite car.
Yeah.
If it was an American car, it'd be a 66 Chevy Nova. If it was a supercar, it would be a Ferrari 812, a super fast. If it was, you know, a German car, it would be my favourite German car would be a GT3 RS or something like that, or a 964 911 92 turbo. It's quite specific, but that's a sick car. E30 M3, holy grail car. I have loads of different cars that I absolutely adore, and I'd say the best car that I've ever driven, I guess from a point of view of like just pure accuracy and something that is a rocket ship, it would be a McLaren. What one was I driving? Is it 600 LT? 600 LT, it's very good. It's very quick, very, you know, those things. I think the three big supercar manufacturers, obviously Lamborghini, Ferrari and McLaren, they all have three very different personalities. Like you've got the Raging Bull, which is Lamborghini. It's not exactly direct, but it's pure power. Ferrari, it's the prancing horse. It's a little bit more, it's a bit more elegant, a bit more refined. And then you have McLaren, which is bionic. It's like, it's very AI. It's very direct. It's very accurate, but there's not so much soul in it. You know, like the other two have a real spirit.
I've got to say, I much prefer Lamborghini over Ferrari, and it's because of what you just said. It's Ferrari for me is technically brilliant and better in many ways than Lamborghini, but because of that, I don't get excited. Yeah, like this is a wrong. Just because you're the type of guest that you are, I'm going to explain it like this. It's almost like having a perfect wife. The Ferrari, and she's beautiful, and everything she does is right. It's completely right, but she doesn't thrill me. Then I have a naughty one on the side that I just enjoy. I enjoy it, and that's my Lamborghini, and that's how I describe them two cars. Yeah,
they have definitely their own personalities. I mean, Ferrari, as I said, is just the engineering in it is kind of what turns me on about it. It's like, it's just, they're beautiful cars. They sound amazing. I mean, the 812 Superfast is just insane. Like the noise off it is crazy. But Lamborghinis are very brash. Like the clutches in them are fairly like bang, you know what I mean? Like, you know what they're like.
But you know you're in one.
Yeah, for sure. Like any car has, every car has its own buyer, you know. I'd say there's a particular set of personality traits which suit each car. Whereas a McLaren, again, is it's a lot of turbos. It's very direct, very accurate, very like bionic. It's a completely different driving experience.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna see yourself in the next 5 or 10 years from now?
Could not tell you. I think if you try and predict, then you almost put an idea of what that potentially could be in your head. Whereas you need to be adaptive. There's a reason why Madonna is still around these days, because she adapts and reinvents and moves with the times. You just need to, going all the way back to what I said to you before, is know what your mission statement is and create and adapt to make that happen. So who knows?
Second to last question.
Go.
any advice, which you've kind of said it before, but we'll just narrow it right down. Any kind of advice, because the goal is, on my podcast, is to inspire younger people specifically, but also others, to kind of find inspiration, motivation, education, and then think, you know what, I'm gonna go down this path because I've been inspired by one of the guests. What would you give someone maybe just coming out of school, not really knowing where to turn, kind of any kind of insight to what you believe that could help them?
Find out what your thing is. You know, what is it? What excites you? What makes you think when you know, find your thing that when you look at it, you're like, fuck, I really want to be a part of that, or I really like that. And then just work back from there. Because once you find something that you're passionate about, everything else will kind of fall into place. Because it's only when you truly care about something that you're willing to give it the time and the energy and everything like that. It's the same thing like I said to you about smoking this morning. Until you want to do it yourself and it's coming from you within, because that's the only thing that's going to make you do it. And as I said, if you're just coming out of school, like I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I knew what I liked, but at the time I didn't realize how I could create that into my own business. But I was always doing the thing that I loved, which was the car thing, you know, and then just build out from there.
Yeah, cool. My catchphrase, my quote is be happy, never content. I'm from a sales background and I've got sales companies, and predominantly salespeople, it's not about this product you're selling, the company that you work for, your sales skills, your chatter. It's about your belief and your drive and your attitude towards becoming the best version of you. So be happy, never content was like a saying that was born from that kind of from that life, and I try and live by it. I've got my own interpretation of what that means. I'm always curious about guests, what their interpretation of be happy, never content, if you were to say what that means.
Be happy, never content. Ooh, that's a big one as well. I think your concept of be happy is very, very important, because like on this journey that we call life, it's like, I feel like it's set out by a series of milestones, whether it's like buying that car or buying that house, or do you know what I mean? It's like, whereas actually you need to figure out what truly makes you happy. So if that is like the whole selling situation, if that's what excites you and gets you up in the morning, that's where your happiness is, then focus on that, not the end goal. It's like, it's always the process, I would say. And I guess you could, when you say, so be happy, never content, that means that your happiness is the journey and not the end goal. Because a contentment would be like the house, the car, the job, the this, the whatever. That's not the end goal. Your happiness is the journey towards it.
Perfect. Where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me on the back of post boxes. No, I'm joking. You can find me at QueenB on Instagram, Becky Evans on YouTube, on Red Bull TV. It's Drift Queen. That's the story on there. There's a couple seasons on there. And yeah, I think that'll do it for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Woodbury House, for allowing us to do this podcast, and also Mimboso, the wellness company. Look out for that. It's going to be launching very soon. This podcast is going to be on there as well. Be happy, never content, and thank you very much, Becky.
No problem. Thank
Cheers.
you.